we must no longer call it the small boats crisis. It isn't. It was the small boats crisis when I first exposed it. Remember that? I was the one, went into the channel in the spring of 2020, started doing videos of this, encouraged mainstream media and broadcasters to start covering this story. Then it was ribs with an average of 16 people on. This mega one of 230, well, just think, 4 of those in one day would be 1,000 people. The Sun newspaper estimates the cost of those individuals will be £25 million to the British taxpayer just from that one boat. And look, here's the big deal. Here's the really big deal. I've got up in Parliament again and again in Prime Minister's questions and Home Office questions and said, can we please declare this a national security emergency? Do you remember 2 months ago? I said I had it on good authority that the Iranians were smuggling terrorists into Britain on those boats. And Labour MPs were shouting shame on you. Well, now we know that the Iranians are doing this. So it isn't just the cost. It isn't just every single day you read about a 13 or 14-year-old girl being raped by somebody from Afghanistan or Sudan. Genuinely, there is a concern here about terrorism. Not a single person that comes on those boats should ever be free to walk the streets of our country. When I first talked about this 6 years ago, and I talked about the ECHR, people looked at me as if I come from Mars. Now people get it. Just walking along the beach here this morning, people get it. That because of the Human Rights Act, we have judges that won't deport people who come here illegally. So we've now gone way further than this. We've now said, look, we've got a Royal Navy. We've also got a fleet of Border Force vessels there, based in Ramsgate, dealing with these operations. And frankly, if the Royal Navy is not there to protect us from invasion, frankly, what's the point of having it?
And you obviously have declared a national security emergency and want the government to declare a national security emergency. Andy Burnham, the Prime Minister, says that he does get this and actually he understands the frustrations of people watching these boats come day after day. Do you think that he's the man to get a grip of this? I mean, what would you be doing now if you were him? Would you be holding daily COBRA meetings if it's the national security emergency, which you say it is?
Well, the point about the national security emergency is if you declare it, you can actually brush aside the ECHR. Those provisions are there. Burnham has no more guts to deal with this than we had with Rishi, than we had with Boris Johnson. They tell the public what they want to hear. None of them have got the balls to actually deal with this. And I tell you what, I have.
And what do you make, I mean, you've been quite outspoken, you were yesterday, about some of these left-wing charities who have been helping to facilitate these small boat crossings or even encouraging them. Do you think they're as compassionate as they say they are? Because we saw this boat yesterday, it was barely afloat when it was picked up. They do seem like just total death traps on the English Channel.
So we estimate 170 deaths. That's the official figure for those that have been trying to cross the Channel over the last few years. I promise you the number, and everyone knows it, the number is far higher than that. At some point, before too long, there will be a mega tragedy. If a boat with that number of people was to go down when a big tide was ripping through the English Channel, dozens would be lost. There will be a major tragedy. It'll happen sooner rather than later. And look, I want to stop the boats to secure our borders. I want to stop the boats in the interest of national security. I want to stop the boats in the interest of the safety of women and girls. But I also want to stop the boats to save lives because people are dying. And then those that come, many of those then finish up working in criminal gangs, finish up, frankly, in the equivalent of modern-day slavery. We should be hanging our heads in shame over this. But neither the Tory government nor the Labour government have frankly got the will and the guts to deal with this for fear of upsetting the French or somebody else.
Well, can I just ask about that? Because I think a large part about your plan hinges on the fact that the French will be happy to take people back, deposited by our Royal Navy in Calais or somewhere else along the French coast. What if the French say no? At the moment, it doesn't really seem that they are pulling out all the stops to stop these boats coming over. So why do you think that you can convince them to take these boats back? And what if they say no? Is that going to be a massive diplomatic spat with an ally country?
What if they said no? Can we have our £1 billion back, please? We've given them £1 billion to stop the boats, and every day when there are crossings, the French Navy literally escort the boats from just off the beach to a 12-mile line and hand them over to the British authorities. Under the international rule of the sea, if people are in peril, and frankly anybody on a boat as insecure as those boats is in peril, we are perfectly entitled to take them back to the safest next place of land, and that's France, the safe country that they've come from.
But what if the French just simply don't allow our Royal Navy to dock and berth? What happens then?
Well, they can't stop us, can they? You know, we can take them back and put them on the beaches. Frankly, it's in the interest of the French to get this right as well. Because can you imagine living in Dunkirk, Calais, Wimereux, Ardelot, although even Dieppe now in Normandy, there are these camps of aggressive young males, shootings, stabbings, assaults, thefts. People in northern France are living in total misery. If the message was no boat gets through, it would help the French people too. And I'm optimistic the French government would in time see it that way.
Can I ask about prisons? Obviously, you have laid out your plan to free up tens of thousands of prison spaces. Andy Burnham, the Prime Minister, today has said that he is actually now going to take measures to keep PC Harper's killers behind bars. Do you at least give him credit for that?
He hasn't won yet, has he? He told us a couple of weeks ago, oh no, there's no way that PC Harper's killers should be released. Then he tells us there's nothing I can do. Now he tells us there is something I can do. And the problem he's got is that if Harper's killers stay behind bars, there'll be scores of others with similar crimes that could equally appeal, and so we would run out of prison places. Look, there are an estimated 10,800 foreign prisoners in British prisons. It's very simple. You give Eddie Rama, the PM of Albania, a ring, and you say, look, we want to have the best possible relations with Albania, but you take your bad guys back. And if he says no, we'll stop giving him visas. And if that fails, we'll use prisons in Kosovo or indeed El Salvador. So there are ways, again, there are solutions to this. We just haven't had Conservative or Labour governments with the courage to do it. And think about this. During the 14 years of Conservative rule, net migration increased the population by 6 million. We only built 455 new prison places. So this is not all Andy Burnham's fault, but does he have the guts to deal with it? I doubt it.
Can I just ask on a wider point, because Andy Burnham said that in an ideal world he would be keeping these prisoners behind bars. All of the public, all the right-minded public, said that these killers should be kept behind bars. But it seems that we do have this almost computer says no culture in Whitehall, where you have the illusion of having your hands on the levers of power, but you pull it and find that nothing happens. How do we get past that as a country, and can we get past it? Because there have been countless examples in the past of that.
We need bold leadership. We need to wipe away the career professional political class who frankly appear to be in thrall, whether it's to the Treasury, civil servants or the Home Office civil servants. We need a completely new culture. This prisons crisis has been looming for years and years and years. So number one, we get rid of foreign criminals. Not hard to do. Genuinely not hard to do. You know, Kosovo, some of the Baltic countries, El Salvador. By the way, it'd be less than half the price to keep people in these prisons than it is to keep them in our prisons, and we'd free up space so that people like Harper's killers could serve their sentence. That can be done. Plus the other idea that we've thrown in, remember when COVID hit, we built Nightingale hospitals. Well, we're proposing building Nightingale prisons, and we reckon we can build 12,000 prison places on unused MOD land and do it in the first 18 months.
Can I ask about this by-election, which you're fighting on Thursday? I know you're going to say nothing's taken for granted, but you are the overwhelming favourite. You're going to win this by-election. So you stand up in the town hall in the early hours of Friday. What do you say? What's the victory speech? What is your message to people?
Well, how pleased I am to have beaten the establishment candidate. I mean, quite extraordinary, isn't it?
You're talking about Count Binface.
I mean, the Liberal Democrats officially endorsed him. Kemi virtually endorsed him, as did the government. So I'll be pleased to beat the establishment candidate. Tell you what's really interesting. In this constituency, Labour are quite weak. They're quite weak now in this area. But in 2019, when Boris won the big election, the Tories got 72% of the vote in the Clacton constituency. Now they're not fielding a candidate. A lot of voters out there feel really insulted by that. So look, let's see what happens. I'm hoping for a big, thumping vote. And that'll be a message back to an establishment that's done its best over the last few months not to give us an even break, literally on anything. And you know, for me, the final straw were the elements of mainstream media coming after members of my family. And I haven't even told half of that story.
Can I ask about the Standards Commissioner? Do you feel that with this by-election, you have wrong-footed the Standards Commissioner and almost tried to gazump any potential recall petition that might eventuate from that probe? Or did you actually misjudge it and maybe not factor in the possibility that this probe will just continue? Are you going to be back here in a few weeks' time having to fight another by-election? How do you think this was going to play out?
If I get the result I want, if Standards decide that they want to do it again, well, I think they'd look rather silly, you know?
And I have to say, how often do you get this in terms of the obviously it's a lot of praise you get? How often do you get heckles like this?
If you're in any fixed location for more than 15 minutes, it'll happen. So I always keep moving.
Fair enough. Can I ask just quickly about, I know the very real threats you face, and clearly we have people around here today, but also I know you've talked about the firebombing in your house and the other threats you've faced. Given all the hassle this £5 million has caused you, if you had your time again, would you take that money?
Oh yes. Anne Widdecombe was 78 years old. She was murdered. She had no, apart from CCTV, she had no personal protection whatsoever. I'm going to need it till the day I die. You can see that around me now.
Keep or ditch the smoking ban?
Oh, look, we've got drugs being used everywhere. We've got cannabis legalised all over America, and people can't have a private smoking room. It strikes me as being ridiculous.
Social media ban for under 16s?
Never going to work. We've tried this on Australia. It's never going to work. The important thing is to change the handsets to make sure there's a load of stuff that kids can't access.
Number 10 North?
Nonsense. Another bureaucracy, total waste of taxpayers' money.
Last one, vertical drinking.
Sorry?
Vertical drinking in pubs.
Well, I've always drunk vertically in pubs, well, as long as I possibly could. You would literally close every pub in the country. Just shows you how out of touch the Westminster Conservatives are.
Okay, I've got one more last question. Zia Youssef, your Home Affairs spokesman, has called Ben Wallace overnight a traitor. Do you think Ben Wallace, former Defence Secretary, put on the uniform, served in Northern Ireland for his country, is he a traitor?
That's too strong a language. I should give him a ticking off, don't worry.
And do you encourage him to delete that tweet?
I'll speak to him. I'll speak to him today. But it's over the top.